Cheers!
Cheers! Here we are.
Cheers, everybody.
Another one. Here you go, Canadian wine lovers, Girls Wine Club members. Good evening. Happy Tuesday. And now we are day 5 or day 6. I lost track of our Girls Wine Club spotlight. And tonight we are going to Summerland, BC. Actually, we're not going to Summerland. We're going to go to Victoria. We're going to do it on the island. But to talk about Lunessence Estate Winery located in Summerland, British Columbia, I am with Maxime Legris. Max is the winemaker at Lunessence, but he's stuck on the island. Max, good evening.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I have to slip out for a minute, but I am so looking forward to hear, Max, from you about, I heard you guys transitioned to all organic recently. I'd love to know about some of the amazing awards you guys have won. And I also just want to know how it is that you make these phenomenal wines that we seem to love every single one of. So I'll be back soon. I can't wait to hear about that.
Before you go, I want you to tell us what you're drinking tonight, what you're tasting.
Oh, super like flowery and invigorating white blend. And I think it's this estate, what is it, Carl? Because you poured this in my glass. I don't know exactly.
I did. The ESV, Estate Single Vineyard white blend. So I know you like that one. I described that one as a right on the verge of to be a rock star wine when I tasted that a few weeks ago. I am a big fan. So go do what you have to do and come back with us. We're going to chat some cool thing. I'll take care of Max while you're away.
See you in a few.
There you go. So we have all of our people here tuning in all the way from the island. Where you are, Max, Max, all the way to Halifax. We have members. We have our crew, usual crew. Usually now it's later in the Eastern time zone. So our people from Ontario, aka Daryl and Derek and Vicky. We have our crew from Quebec, usually Jean-Denis. And we have a couple of other people from Quebec who tunes in pretty much every night. So you guys, the usual suspect, you guys are here. Our solid crew from Ontario, welcome. Guys, let us know what's in your glass. Let us know what you guys are drinking. We want to know. I am tasting here the ESV 2020 Lunescence. No, this one is the Riesling. The Single Vineyard Estate Lunescence white blend. A blend of Gewürztraminer, Rieslings, and Pinot Blanc, if I'm not mistaken.
That is right. That is correct.
There you go. There you go. So, Max, before we start to talk about the transition of Lunescence and all of that, I've been doing that with all of our winemakers so far. I want people to know a little bit more about you. I want our people, our members, to know where you are. What was your progression? Did you went overseas to learn about winemaking? Are you a local product from the Okanagan? Did you go to Ontario? So what's your path to be now where you're at in charge of the whole winemaking process at Lunescence?
Yeah, I'm from Ottawa, Ontario originally, so I'm from out east. I was born in Ottawa, and I grew up in Ottawa, and I actually was. My start in wine came actually sort of from a hobby pursuit. I wanted to learn a little bit more about wine. I've always liked food and I've always liked cooking. And I didn't really know anything about wine. So I decided to enroll in an intro to wine course at Algonquin College in their sommelier program. And I really enjoyed that first course, and it took me on to the second and the third. And finally, I found myself finishing that sommelier certificate in Ottawa. And then I was sort of left after that wondering, what the next step should be, or what I would do. And I knew I was really interested in learning more about wine. And one of the instructors in the program sort of, we had a good conversation, and he directed me to the enology program at Brock University in Niagara. And I I looked at that and I applied and I was accepted for that program. So I picked up my life and moved to Niagara and finished. I guess that was in 2009. I started my degree there. So I graduated in 2013. So when I finished my degree in enology and viticulture at Brock, I'd been working in Niagara for up to two vintages there, but I really wanted to come out west. I have a brother here in Victoria, where I am now, and I wanted to come out west to be closer to him. But in my process of moving out west, I did 2 vintages in Marlborough in New Zealand, working for Babbage Family Wines in their new facility that they were opening in 2014. So I came to BC via New Zealand and started working in Penticton, and then I worked there for 2 or 3 years, and then I worked at Cedar Creek Estate Winery in Kelowna for 2 years as the assistant winemaker there, and then the opportunity in Summerland came up in 2019 was my first harvest there. Yeah.
There you go. It's a beautiful road to success. So we can
call you.
So we can call you a local product, a Canadian product.
Truly Canadian, yes.
Absolutely. Tell me, what's the biggest difference that you've noticed between the culture in New Zealand, the winemaking culture in New Zealand versus the Canadian wine? Is there one, or if there's one, what it is?
Yeah, I think, and again, I'm not an expert on New Zealand wine, and where I was working obviously was in Marlborough. And Marlborough is really a very large area of New Zealand wine relative to some of the others that are smaller and feature more boutique and smaller scale producers. So Marlborough tends to be the home of most Sauvignon Blanc that your guests and most consumers would experience in any liquor store. It's really the foundation of the export market in New Zealand is Sauvignon Blanc, and most of it comes from Marlborough. So I would say from a scale of production, the average winery in Marlborough is massive compared to most Canadian wineries. There are basically only 3 players in Canada that would have facilities close to the average size of those in Marlborough. So it is a very industrial winemaking environment. That being said, technologically speaking, in terms of wine quality initiatives and efforts, I think, and growing viticulture, there's a lot of really talented and highly skilled people in Marlborough for sure. I mean, and that's mandated by the nature of that export business. There are millions and millions and millions of dollars invested in there. And so there's some really skilled people there for sure. Just a different size of the business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you. And well, like me, like my background before I hopped into Canadian, my passion with Canadian wine, I worked lots with international wine, and I had my phase, my period where I was focusing on New Zealand, and to me, Chardonnays. And there was some spot, also small little pocket in Central Otago as well. We're focusing on Syrahs, but other place on Pinot Noir. And is there any on your side? Is there any other grapes that stood out to you in New Zealand when you were there outside of the classic Sauvignon Blanc?
Yeah, I took the opportunity to travel around, and certainly for me, from a perspective of beauty, Hawke's Bay was pretty stellar. I was really impressed by that, and it was interesting to me, given sort of it is a warm area, but not quite warm in sort of like the Southern California, Southern France type of warmth. But I was interested in trying their larger reds there. But like you were referring to, I think for me, some of the Chardonnays and Rieslings and stuff coming out of Otago, obviously the Pinots in Otago are quite nice, but that was from a diversity of variety and quality. Yeah, certainly you have to almost leave that. Again, there's some excellent producers right in Marlborough doing small scale stuff as well in Pinot and Chard, so it's not to say if you go to Marlborough you can't have a diverse experience. But Chardonnay and Pinot Noir in Otago, some really exceptional Rieslings that I had down the east side of the South Island, which were quite nice. And yeah,
that's we're sharing the same thought here, and I think the island. I think that New Zealand has so much to be discovered outside of these big, massive producer. But again, it helps so much to learn the business side when you see these size of production as well, definitely help to have a bigger pictures.
Yeah, that was really the reason for me to go there. It was just to really have an exposure to a scale of winemaking that perhaps wasn't as accessible in Canada. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Now you made the move back, and let's start focusing a little bit more about where you're at now and what we're talking about tonight. Spotlight on Lunescence. When we talk about small producer, and when we talk about small boutique winery, boy, that's what we're talking about, because that's funny. I have a story for you. I visited Niagara for the first time this fall. So I was there in September, and I started to tour, and I was with some people that I knew already, and they're touring me around. And every time that I was going to a new winery, chatting with people, doing tasting, they always said the same thing at the beginning. Oh, we're a very small producer here. We're just 45 acres, and we're producing just under 10,000 cases. Well, my first visit, I kind of chuckle, right? You don't want to offend anyone. You're like, oh, okay, that's 40 acres, right? So move on to the next, and the guy say, oh, nice meeting you. I say, we're very small here. We're 65 acres. We're producing 11,000 cases. I'm starting to laugh a little louder. And now the third guy said, oh, we're really small. We're 70 acres here. I'm like, okay, that's enough. If you guys come to BC, like a small producer is someone with 4 or 5 acres who produce 2,000 cases. That's what we're talking about. So the scale, the size in between, just in our country, in the two regions, to me, it's one of the things I've never thought about. It was not something like the size of the farm in Ontario or so much bigger than what we have here in BC. Is it something that drag you out to BC just for the smaller part of it, or?
Well, I mean, it was a little more selfish than that, to be fair. At the time when I was looking to come out west, I think there were a lot more opportunities for a diversity of opportunities, full-time working opportunities, and directly in some scale of winemaking. The Ontario industry is, you're not wrong, is about, I think this is an old stat I have in my mind, but it's about 3 times the size in terms of acreage and volume produced. So relative to the Okanagan, that might have changed since I've been to the BC, but you're totally right about the average vineyard size is not even comparable. You have these long sloped benches in Niagara. And so a small producer there, it's pretty easy for them to put together a 10 to 30 acre parcel of vineyard in one contiguous block, where the lay of the land, the mountainous slopes here on both sides of the lake, and the peninsulas that we have that have formed from erosion, they limit the vineyards to very specific sites, and the average site is much smaller. That being said, there are some large 300, 400 acre parcels in the valley, but they're almost completely owned by the larger 3 producers.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. And when we talk about Lunescence, what's the acreage owned by the estate? What's your estate capacity there?
So we have roughly a 10 acre property on 2 different titles, but what we're actively farming right now is a very tiny little vineyard. The organic certified vineyard that was certified as of 2020 is, for the sake of discussion, roughly 3.5 acres. So very small. And then we have another 4.5 acres that we planted last year, that we planted roughly 3.5 acres of mixed clonal plantings of Pinot Noir, and then just under an acre of Chardonnay as well. So we're hoping to have roughly about 8.5 acres planted.
And it's all on the estate sites, or there's
right on the estate.
Right on the estate sites, correct? Awesome. And when we're talking about the entire holding, you guys are focusing mostly on Rieslings, correct? Rieslings, Chardonnay. There's a little bit of, now with the new planting of Pinot Noir. So how's the estate has been split between the varietal that you guys have?
Yeah, the established planting is mostly Riesling. So of the 3.5 acres, I'd say, roughly 2.5 acres of that 3.5 is Riesling. There's a small amount of Gewürztraminer, a tiny amount of Pinot Blanc, that are actually in that that make up that ESV that you guys are tasting. And we also have a very small portion of Merlot and Syrah that form the backbone of our Blanc de Noir Rosé. So yeah, but as you mentioned, the goal would be for the fruit coming off the estate to largely be focused on Riesling, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir.
Okay, and yeah, this is an absolute, like, for me, like, when I came across Lunescence and my first understanding, and it just confirmed what I was thinking. At first, it's the quality of the Rieslings. To me, that was my first interaction with the brand. And when I taste the lineup, what comes to mind is the purity of the Riesling. Is there something specific on your site? Is it the Summerland thing? Is it where you guys are located? Oh, like the Riesling shines so beautifully there. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm just learning about it myself. I knew nothing of Summerland terroir, really. Having been in the valley since 2014, I've driven through and stopped into Summerland a little bit, but I'm still learning very much about our specific site and what it has to offer for Riesling. But I think even from the first 2019 vintage of Riesling that we made on the site, it stood out to me how distinctive the quality of the Riesling offered, both in maintaining very, very, very high levels of acidity, very, very low pH, high acidity wines, but also offering sort of an aromatic quality that I think is a little bit distinct from some of the other Rieslings I've had in the valley here. There's an intensity to the aroma that sort of deviates from sort of the sort of lemon, lime, green apple quality into a much more heady, sort of intense floral, jasmine-y kind of quality that the site provides. And I think, we are on the sort of slopes, on the east slopes of Giant's Head Mountain, which is an extinct volcanic site. And so there is some, volcanic parent material that runs very shallow through the property. There are many places on the property and in that vineyard specifically where there's perhaps 2 to 3 inches of soil on top of bedrock. And so the plants have established themselves, quite a bit into that bedrock material. And maybe that drives some of the quality and the acidity that we see in those Rieslings.
Yeah, and there's a flinty minerality to me. It's extremely, very, very distinctive in that salinity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just licking my lips right now. Like, there's that salty minerality that stick to that part of the Riesling, and it's a common theme that I got from the sparkling, from the ESV Riesling, also with the white blend. That it stick to the 3 bottles. I got it back every time that I go back to it.
Yeah, and obviously those 3 wines are they all share Riesling from our property, 3 different blocks on the property, but nonetheless, there's a lot of commonalities in what I'm starting to see throughout the 3 different vineyard blocks.
Yeah. So I would like us to talk a little bit between the black label and the white label. Sure. Because now that people, I think our members are coming more and more accustomed to your brand, they know more and more about Lunescence. We have some member of your wine club who are a member of our club, and often we see some pictures in our, like, on our Facebook group, lots of Lunescence action going on there. And often I say, oh, why this one is a white label? Why this one is a black label? So can we please bring the distinction between these 2 programs? Because there's a big, big difference, I believe.
Oh, there is. And one of the things that we were right away when I started it at Lunescence in 2019, Cam and I sort of had an opportunity with the owners to sort of discuss how we wanted to sort of move the brand and what direction we wanted to take it. And one of the things that we felt was really important was to start telling stories that were meaningful about the vineyards in and around the winery, because we didn't really have any history and really didn't understand what the vineyard on the property could offer. And the starting point for that was really to start the white label series, which is essentially the white label series does and will mean that it is fruit that we have farmed on our property. And therefore it is certified organic fruit, and it will heavily feature, those really are meant to be our best wines because they showcase the fruit that we grow, and maximum effort. It's not to say that the black label wines don't sort of receive maximum effort. It's just we don't have control over the farming of the fruit. And in a really important and very practical sense, we have a very small vineyard and it doesn't sustain the business. And so we do rely on grower partners to provide us with fruit. We are trying to refine that and focus in on what we're bringing in from growers and sort of create a stable focus of wines that don't come off our property. But those wines are really the black label wines that you see.
So that's a very good start. So I want to backtrack just when I think I kind of missed one part here because we have lots of people from Ontario. Can we please tell people where Summerland is located? If we talk, because for our people from Ontario, from Saskatchewan, it's the Okanagan Valley, right?
Yeah.
But for us, there's a big difference between Kelowna and Osoyoos. Where is Summerland? I know very well where Summerland is. I drive there every single day. The vineyard is like 5 minutes from the school, but of our kids. But where Summerland is located compared to the other big hub?
Yeah, so the Okanagan, unlike Niagara, which is a very east-west oriented winemaking region, the Okanagan is very much a north-south, very long glacial valley. It starts at the Washington state border where Osoyoos is, and then it goes all the way up. Well, now it goes all the way up to past Lake Country into Vernon, which is sort of north of Kelowna, which is the largest city here in the valley. Summerland, roughly, like if you had to sort of place it, is roughly in the middle. I kind of, in my mind, I have this idea that Penticton, which is again just about 10 minutes south of Summerland, is sort of the cutoff line geographically for.
Look at you, Mira Boucher. Look at you.
So Penticton's that sort of darker blue blob in the center of the map there. It's right. It separates the two major lakes, which are Okanagan Lake to the north, and then Skaha Lake right to the south of Penticton. And I kind of imagine that south of Penticton is an area, at least for me, and this is my opinion, where the larger reds really are home. Larger varieties needing longer ripening seasons and longer growing degree days. They really are. They should be south of Penticton, and then in the north of Penticton, roughly speaking, is really for me where the focus should be on cool climate varieties like Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Rieslings, and sort of light aromatic whites. And so Summerland is just on the west side of the valley. So you can imagine from the longer, the hotter side of the valley is the east side because it gets the sort of the afternoon sun. So we're actually on the west side, and so we get a lot of shade in the late afternoon and evening from Giant's Head Mountain specifically, but also from the mountains behind that. So it is the cooler side of the valley, and that really informs why we've planted Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, because I think we anticipate that as even with some global warming, that we'll still have that cooling effect from being on the west side of the valley.
Very, very good explanation. Mira, I know that you're back here. I know you're dying to get into the conversation.
Oh, wow. I come at this from a very different angle, Max. Okay. So Carl's been in the industry for almost 30 years. He knows wine inside out. He's drank wines that cost more than I would pay for a car and things like that. So, and me, I started drinking wine in the pandemic, like just over a year ago. And it was mainly because we had this idea to start the wine club. And I thought I better find out what my husband actually does for a living, because I've been married to him for so long. Now with the pandemic, we're in the same house all the time. So we've got to figure this out, right?
For sure.
So for me, it's really just about, listening to you. I always pick up so many interesting things. I know that I like your wines, which is great. Remind me again, Max, when you started with Lunesssence?
My first harvest there was 2019. So I started in the summer of 2019. Spring, summer, I guess, was my first start. So I'm going into three vintages, or roughly 3 years there.
So then this one I'm drinking here, you made this one. This is
That's the 2020.
That's 2020. Yeah. So you got your hands on the whole thing, right, with the 2020.
Yeah, exactly. In 2019, we're releasing some new reds and black label reds that are coming out. Well, one of them's out now, and then the others rolling out. So the 2019, all of the 2019s were my first, and so the 2020 ESV was a new SKU for 2020. Again, just trying to build on the State Single Vineyard series, and also looking to try and find a home for the Gewurz and the Pinot Blanc in a meaningful way, because so often, for good reason, white blends have a role to play in terms of in the wine industry and for a winery. But we wanted to do more with that, with ours on the property, because it wanted to tell a story that backs up the certified organic status of the fruit. We farm everything, every block we have, including our Gewurz, gets all the same labor, and so we wanted to lift it up and make it something better. So than just a throwaway white blend.
So
I think it's fabulous.
I know that when you and Cameron took over together, so now you guys sit down and I want to know, because like at some part of the vineyard, or it's like there's some part of we're in pretty rough shape when you guys took over, and what was the first kind of decision in terms of label? You say, okay, where is going to be the focus of our new venture? Was there something very obvious for you and Cameron? Say, let's focus on the vineyard, or let's focus on the hospitality, or was there something that you guys said, okay, that's where we start and that's where we're going to follow?
Yeah, and I don't want to disparage what came before, but I think for me the biggest thing is it's always the vineyard, especially when you're farming it. And there was a lot of work to rehabilitate and repair and bring health into the vineyard. And we wanted to, knowing the work that had to be done, we also wanted to back it up in a way that we felt was tangible and real, and that was really pursuing the organic certification. I think there are a lot of wine is an industry that it's very natural to tell a lot of stories, and to help you sell wine and present wine and teach people about wine. But one of the unfortunate realities is sometimes people embellish those stories a little bit. And there are a lot of people that talk about a lot of sustainable efforts. And in my personal experience, a lot of those are more marketing than they are reality. And we felt that it was really important to start from a place of sort of back it up. And so that was the certification, right? It's like we're not saying we're organic. We're not talking about maybe being organic. We are certified organic. And here's the proof. And it doesn't necessarily entail that. I wouldn't pretend that means that the wines are somehow superlatively better just because we said the vineyards are organic. No, it's just more of a commitment that we're making to the property, to the wines that we're going to make from that property, and to ourselves, to hold ourselves accountable. And because I hate telling wine stories based on sort of half truths. So
that's good.
I love that, Max, because I was actually going to ask, as someone who doesn't know a whole ton about wine, it's more just about the Mira scale, do I like it or not, and how much of it do I want to drink? What does organic do for you? And I think what I heard you just say is that it tells you that the winemaker has a commitment to do things in a certain way that respects the environment, and that perhaps also respects, the sense of place a little bit more in the wine.
Yeah, and I think that having worked in Niagara as well, I would qualify that with, there wasn't something that we had set out with a mandate. Like when we started with Cam and we were talking about what made sense for Lunesssence, start going forward. I said whatever we do, we just need to be on board with it, and we need to own it. So if we wanted to be sustainable and farm conventionally, then we just need to be honest about that and move forward in that direction, and not paint ourselves in a different light. But if we want to be organic, we can do that as well. It just means that we should demonstrate that we're doing this by certifying. So, I would say the Okanagan is an interesting environment from a viticulture and really a sort of a horticultural perspective. It's a very dry, arid climate, and so that reduces a great deal of disease pressure from fungus. And so it makes organic farming more sustainable for the Okanagan, in my opinion. Whereas in Niagara, I know very well that the humidity of the environment on the benches it's a vastly different entity in terms of farming and disease pressure. And so in Niagara, wanting to go down an organic pathway or a biodynamic pathway is certainly possible, but you need to be prepared to spend a lot more time, money, and expect perhaps a lot more loss in order to get there. So it might not be as financially sustainable in Niagara as to compared to the Okanagan. So and I would never judge anybody on their individual choice. I think this is a business in the end, and sustaining your business and having the doors open is a really important thing. But anyways.
Yeah,
that's a really interesting
it is,
point.
and that's funny because we were with Jean-Pierre Collat from 13th Street last night, and Jean-Pierre was talking about the 2021 vintage with the amount of rain that they got in September. Now they're swimming in that mess of fungus, and now they're spending so much time in the cellar trying to fix the shit in there because it's an absolute catastrophe.
Yeah, I heard that as I have a couple of friends who are winemakers there, and sour rot and melting was a huge problem this harvest, and so I mean that's exactly a perfect example of having to tailor your farming to your environment.
No, absolutely, and I think that's the advantage here in the Okanagan. You just mentioned it, like the dry climate. That's where you guys have to deal with. There's also the other spectrum, the drought and all of that, but the commitment. The fires, the forest fire. It's probably the extreme of that again. And I want to take on that a little later on with you about the fire and the smoke tank. But I know that Mira has a question here, so.
Sure, well, I don't, but Vicky has two amazing questions. So the first, maybe we'll start with, because we're talking about the vineyard and we're talking about being respectful to the land. And she's just asking that you used to use classical music as a growth factor in the vineyard. Is this still the case? I know when I went there, I still see the speakers. Do you guys ever still play the classical music?
That's something that, that was I'll be
Michael.
Very direct. And that was Michael's thing. And
the former winemaker, right?
Yeah, he was really into that, and I think he is still into that and doing that down at a site in Oliver, where I believe he has a home there. I think vineyard wise. We don't, we're not transitioning away from it. We still play music. We still have, but it's sort of in and around the wine shop. That's where the music hall is controlled anyway, and so. It's not something that we're looking to intentionally distance ourselves from. But what we're trying to do a little bit more of is really focus on the farming of the vineyard and telling stories through wine from the vineyard, and we have music playing, and if people like the music, that's always a great thing. And I think that's where we that's where we sit with that. Yeah. But it's not an active pursuit that we're looking at just right now.
I get it. So you're not necessarily as sold as the former winemaker was, that the music necessarily helps the vines. It's more about the daily effort that you put in tending to each one, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think exactly. I think that's
makes sense. But it is a very whimsical idea, so I love it. And I think if you're walking through the vineyards, it's probably very pleasant and convenient for you guys to have an ability to play music like that. The other question is about Syrah. Maybe Carl, you want to ask this one?
Yeah, it's again, right? It's about the former ownership. It's about the former winemaker. So you got that. There used to be a Syrah part of the lineup. At Lunesssence, would it be, if you get the right source of grape, because obviously you're not going to start to grow Syrah on the home vineyard in Summerland. I don't think it's going to happen. Global warming is happening, but not as fast. So if you can get your hand on a solid source of Syrah, would it be something that you might think of take on?
Yeah, I mean, I do think Michael is still making a Syrah from down south. we definitely we were going to be making a Syrah this harvest until I lost the fruit. So you know,
No.
it is a variety that we're definitely interested in. We want to consolidate. We want to consolidate and offer really focused SKUs, and that's not to say that we want to just make 8 wines over and over and over again every year, but we want to have a core that is stable both in the white label and the black label. And we're refining, you know, I have my personal belief about what varieties would be best, but you know, it's always a team and we have to work together on deciding that as a team. It's not always even making wine. It's not always, you know, yes, I'm responsible for making the wine and make a lot of the decisions, but I always try to sort of think about other people when I'm making the wine. And I love Syrah. It's one of the varieties in the South Okanagan that I think has a lot of potential. I'd love to see a lot of Cab Sauv pulled out and have more Syrah planted. That's just my take on it, obviously. But yeah, I think the tiny bit of Syrah that we have on the property, like you were alluding to, Carl, is there's such a small amount of it relative to the Merlot that's planted that it would be very difficult to see that into a commercially viable wine, just on the volume piece alone. But then there's the entire situation of Syrah and Summerland. It's very late ripening, and we have a cool site on the wrong side of the valley for a big red. So yeah, exactly. You're never going to see. We won't be planting any more Syrah in Summerland. Let's just say
that. And I think that's what Vicky's talking about also. We're talking about, oh, here you go. I got, hey, do you want to show? Do you want, he's watching. Okay. So, see, people are watching you in the house.
That's good. That's
good. Yeah, do you want to show your missing teeth? So you ever seen a kid losing 2 teeth in the same day?
Wow.
Huh? Not 1, but 2.
How much money did you get for that?
I got $20 and also a toy.
Whoa, you did way better than I ever did.
Yeah, I know. Tooth Fairy, the Tooth Fairy had some good investments. I guess through the years, the allotment grows and grows.
Yeah, the Tooth Fairy has made some wise investment decisions. Back to the Syrah. I think, well, Vicky was mentioning, I think that's what, because Vicky's one of your wine club members as well, and that's why she really likes the Blanc de Noir, because of the splash of Syrah in there, right? Yeah, and it definitely plays a big role in that wine for sure. And that we don't really anticipate seeing that change much, to be honest. You know, it's a very important part of that white label portfolio that we have. And so I think, I'm quite happy actually with the 2021 that's in tank right now. I think it shares a lot of resemblance with the 19 again. 2020 was a bit of a departure. Stylistically, it was a bit riper and drier. But I think I'm excited for the Blanc de Noir for the 2021 vintage for sure. Oh, now you just you're so easy, Max. You're bringing these segues between questions like a charm. I wanted to talk about the 2021 vintage. You guys just wrapped up. Everything is in now. The thing is in fermentation. Things expunge down, pump over. Say season right now. So you're showing up there daily just to check on things. How was the 2021 vintage in Summerland for you guys? How's the grapes look? How's the juice at the initial stage look for you guys? Yeah, really good. I think there were some interesting sort of chemical parameters that were unusual this year. I think we had for the people out east that aren't obviously in BC, we had a massive heat wave here that usually at temperatures, in the mid 30s or above, that tends to shut down plants. They start to conserve and they lower their respiration rate in order to conserve water. They basically shut down to protect themselves. And so that can have depending on where you are, it can delay the maturation and of the fruit and the development of the fruit. And so depending on the area from the valley where we were sourcing fruit, on our property, we saw some really interesting, very rapid sugar accumulation consistent with a hot vintage. But what we saw also was really, really high acids that weren't coming down in tandem with that high sugar. So, that was one of the challenges with the Blanc de Noir or the Merlot in the Blanc de Noir. The bricks were climbing at a rate where I was basically forced to pick, but the acids weren't where I needed them. They were so high. They were in sparkling level. And so that's where sort of, you're working, delaying a little bit to balance your alcohol and but also manage to get the acids into a more manageable place for the style you're looking to make can be quite tricky. I think the south of the valley, interesting with the reds, the bigger reds, I didn't really see any bizarre sort of development in terms of the sugar ripeness and the acid. Those were pretty typical for, despite the warmer vintage. I think on average, I would say we were 2 weeks ahead across the board. If I had to simplify it, we finished and had everything in 2 weeks early. So, but quality wise, quite happy. I think everybody in the valley, Vicky has a new question here.
Vicky, yes, I love your questions because Vicky loves your winery. So she's drinking all these wines, wants to know, and I have the same question. So it's great.
We are continuing with the Black Label Rosé as well. The Black Label Rosé really came out of a place of we only can really make about 100 cases of the Blanc de Noir or the white label wine, and it's really unsustainable in terms of demand, in terms of, we have a lot more demand for rosé than that wine alone can carry. And so the Black Label Rosé was really a sort of response to that. It does require us to source fruit from elsewhere. And so we can't necessarily have the same stringent demand on varietal focus. We sort of have to, it's very hard to find and source red fruit at a price to even make that wine right now, given the state of the cost of fruit in the valley. But yes, we are working actively to continue sourcing for that Black Label Rosé, and we definitely want to keep it in the lineup.
Hey, Max, I call that the business decision.
Yeah.
Like it kind of makes sense when the rosé is such in a high demand, you can't run out of rosé second week of June. You need to find a way to have 300 cases of rosé that you can sell, because, as a winemaker, you can make something good out of what you get. So let's make a business decision here. Let's make sure that everyone who comes to our beautiful place, because you guys have a view, has a patio like no one else in the valley. So when you get the people there, everyone wants to drink rosé. So, as a business decision, you say, okay, let's find a way, no matter what it is.
That's it. And I mean, it really is a business decision. I mean, as much as we talk about sort of the artistry of wine and the effort that we put into farming, those are all true. But in the end, it is a business, and we do have to keep the doors open. And that Black Label Rosé is one of the ways that it's a wine that we actually this year, in order to grow what we wanted to produce in that wine, we had to sort of increase our threshold for tolerance in terms of price as well. But so, it's like the margins are getting tighter on that wine in order to be able to continue to produce it. So, but it's something that's still, they have the in-stock position warrants it. So.
And also, you made it quaffable. I remember I've been we took some members there, like at least 5 to 7 times, and every time, this rosé was just the perfect patio pounder in a sense that it was quaffable, the acidity was beautiful, the fruit, the roundness, it kind of fit. Everything was the perfect match. Sitting on the chair, looking over the cliff, looking at the lake, and drinking that rosé was just the perfect thing. So.
Yeah, and I mean that's you're touching on another really important point. That is that wine is really not a wine that's really going to ever have the opportunity to have someone sell it from a storyteller perspective. It's a wine that goes out into our liquor stores and maybe into restaurants. I mean, a restaurant would hopefully have someone selling the wine, but in a liquor store environment, there's very little opportunity for that wine to have a story told. And so we wanted to deliver on certain things that will guarantee that if they choose that bottle, they'll be interested in trying it again. So it's made to be very approachable and easy to drink. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I like where we're going with that whole conversation, because there's that terroir definition, like the ESV line, the black line. But there's also something that, like you guys, the Merlots. You guys have been making some solid Merlots, because the Crescendos, your flagship red, is Merlot based. You do a single varietal Merlot, you do a Merlot Cabernet. So you guys, and I don't know if you will pursue that continuity of working with Merlot, but it's something that has been responding very well on the Lunescence program. So what's the future for Merlots with you?
Yeah, no, well, we have the 2019s, and I'm not sure if Cam is listening, but I hope he's released the 2019 Merlot. It's been unofficially released for a little while now, but I don't know if it's officially released. We also have a 2020 that is coming, that is going to be bottled in March or April of this year. And then we also have the 2021 again in tank right now. So it is something that I see moving forward. I think, for me, Merlot is the variety of the South Okanagan. I think there is no better variety suited for the South Okanagan. Like Cab Franc can be very interesting as well, but I think Merlot is the workhorse variety of the South Okanagan. You can get excellent Merlot or very good Merlot, 9 out of 10 vintages, which cannot be said really for any other red variety. And from a quality and reliability perspective, that's really important,
See, Max, you got your answer here in the chat box about the Merlot. Yes, Perfect. It is released. It's on Carl's cellar right now, available.
Yeah, that is some fruit from that we source from Incameep Vineyards. That's Black Sage, all of North Oliver, east side of the valley. So we're quite happy with that. 19 was a vintage where unfortunately we had a really early frost in early October, which really cut the season short for a lot of the bigger reds. They did a really good job at Incameep, actually doing a lot of heroic frost protection, which actually got us a couple of extra weeks of hang time, which has definitely helped, that wine. I think we're really excited for the 19s. They're the first sort of, turn of the page for red wines at Lunescence as well. And but the 2020s, we have, in order to secure stable fruit supply, which I think is also very important for wine quality, we have actually moved to source our Merlot from Soyuz. So we have a stable supplier there that we can get year in, year out. And that's a really important part in terms of developing style and quality, is to consistently source fruit from the same place. So,
it's all about the house style, right? You're starting with a new place. You and Cameron are starting a new phase of the Lunescence growth. So you guys, it's important for you guys to build that house style that you're going to be well known for in the next 10 years. And I think that with the white and the estate vineyard, you already have that in the back pocket to me. And now it's to find that red house style that you guys are going to go put your staple, your stamps on. And I think that's the next step.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Hey, a quick question. Have you guys already talked about the small lot Chardonnay?
Nah, not yet. I was keeping that for my last thing before I segues through the page and the purchase. Come on, Mira. I'm keeping the bone for the end.
Because there's only a teeny bit left, because you guys won platinum for this, right? Which,
yeah, we did.
I mean, Carl and I have tasted a lot of wines at once, and once in a while you get one out of like dozens that you're like, whoa, this is the platinum winner. Like it's like meeting someone that you're gonna marry. You just know, right? So so tell us a little more about that project, because it was the first time you did a small lot Chardonnay, right?
Yeah, we wanted to. I think that wine, I find it a little bit funny. I don't mean funny in a disingenuous way, but part of that wine really came out of just trying to sort of have an offering for our wine club. We really wanted to just make a small one-off, and we're looking to do that type of thing in a more consistent and meaningful way. And that seemed in 2019, we had a good supply of fruit for 2019, and gave us an opportunity to sort of not experiment, but sort of really have a little bit more work on with some different barrels and different coopers. And so we thought that, while watching the wines and tasting the barrels, and we knew we were going to be making one larger lot of Chardonnay, I just had an opportunity to sort of continue to taste through the entire barrel selection. And there were really a few barrels that were definite standouts in my opinion. And as the wine evolved and we just kept watching it, one of the things we talked about was not actually taking those three barrels out of the entire wine to make that one wine was it going to do any detriment to the larger volume? And we actually stylistically, felt that it wasn't really doing that. And so then the option came to make a, small 700 liter batch of Chardonnay for Wine Club. And that's what we did. It was definitely an oaked style of Chardonnay and unapologetically oaked. It was, I think, a 33% new, 66% second fill Chardonnay, 8 months in oak. I think the thing that stand out for me there was again, talking about trying to sort of offer an improved quality that was a completely unfined and unfiltered. So we didn't do any bentonite filtration. We did no cold stability. That was literally racked out of barrel into the blending tank, and then it went to bottle. So, which for white wines for various reasons can be a little bit of a risk, given certain natural components in all wine can result in instability in the bottle. But we felt it was one that was sort of worth a calculated risk. But we never really, I didn't even realize that had been entered into the competition. So it was a little bit of a surprise because it's an insignificant amount of wine. I think it was 60 or 70 cases of wine, and it was never intended to see the light of day other than for our Wine Club members. So, but that being said, we're very happy that it was well received, and we're thrilled obviously with the medal. So.
Well, what this tells me is that there's certainly some benefits to joining your wine club then.
Well, I think that's the sales pitch moving forward. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is something we want to do. We want to offer, more quality to the wine club and value to the wine club. And that's hard to do it's easy to say, it's hard to do. So, in a meaningful way, at least. So, I think that, I hope it's a validation that we're bringing some enhanced quality to that offering,
And I think these competition are not everything, but if one thing to me, it's about perception, it's about visibility across the country, that now you can showcase, hey, guess what? We can play with the big guy. We can play on the top stage as well. So no, I think it's very important. Sometimes it's when you're a smaller producer and you want to say, hey, we're here, because boom, there you go. We can play with the big guys as well. So
that's
obviously.
That. Thank you. Yeah, that's obviously very nice as well. It's just recognition is never a bad thing. So, we're definitely happy, and I think with that wine especially, I think the wine was because it had been reviewed earlier and it didn't do too well, but reading those scores from earlier reviews, I actually agree with them completely, and especially at the time with the way that wine was drinking, and I think with that particular award, it's a big part of it is the wine being in the right place developmentally at the right time.
Yeah.
And it was showing really well when it was tasted, and I think that's a big part of it. It's was it the best Chardonnay in Canada? I don't think so, but it was showing really well at the time. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what? It's to me, it's like a football season or a hockey season. Sometimes you peak at some point during the season, you play you feel like you're unbeatable, and sometimes you get into slumps and you can't can save your soul to win the freaking game. But yeah, that's the same thing, because the wines is alive. Sometimes wine goes on the mute, sometimes they go in the slump, you just feel what's going on with that bottle? And yeah, there's no flaws in the bottle, there's no VA, it's not cork, but it feels like it's sleeping in your glass.
For sure.
Yeah, sometimes it just it's so beautifully.
Yeah, and I think that was, and obviously, I think that was probably the case with that wine. It definitely is opened up into a much better place, and as has the other related wine, which is the regular 2019 Chardonnay. It itself is drinking, much better now than it ever has been. So, I think for sure, right place at the right time for that wine.
It's you just bring such a great point. I tasted the Lunescence lineup when I was in Victoria, actually, for Thanksgiving, and I did all of my tasting notes. And personally, the 19 regular, to me, scored better on my sheet at that very specific moment. The regular was like, wow, he was the wine of the weekend to me. Like, I tasted 60 wines and yes, the micro series, the micro lot was really, really good, but the regular was absolutely shining at that very specific moment.
Yeah, it is a part of what's really fun about wine is that evolution that can take place, and it's sort of, I do as much as I can myself. If I find wines that I like, I do always try to buy a few bottles and to really space out opening them, right, and just to sort of learn more about them. And even having wines that we work with, it's really important to, even when I for a rosé, for example, I would never realistically ever plan on having a rosé that we make and holding it for a year or two, but it is interesting from a learning and development standpoint to see where they go. So I recommend that to everybody, to sort of find some wine you like, is to get an extra bottle and keep it for a while.
Hey, just on a side note, talking about the small lot series, because it's unfiltered, no nothing. What would you say it's his prime? Well, I would say right now it's entering his prime, but how long would you keep that wine? If you see some people have 6 bottles, is it something you will keep for another 4 or 5 years, or you will reduce that maybe to a 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. The fact that has not been filtered or fined in any way, it's a bit of an unknown. I think a lot of that would depend on the storage condition of the wine, and how it's being kept. That's why we made such a small amount, because we sort of intended that when it went out of the market, it would be consumed relatively quickly. The unfined and unfiltered nature, that wine only went through partial mallow. And so there is the potential for further mallow in that particular wine, and which would be exacerbated by poor storage condition. And so that's the unknown factor. I think if it's kept under ideal conditions, I would hope another year or two. I don't know that's a long life for like 4 or 5 years. If it was perfect, maybe, but I'd be worried to encourage someone to hold 6 bottles for 5 years.
Definitely. And you know what? And that's why Cameron was so generous to offer us a very small quantity for Carl Cellar. And there's 2 maximum per members if they want to purchase, so they can get more than 2. So we just like give them a little drop by little drop. We feed them one by one. Mira, would you like to close that off with Max here with anything, or how do you feel?
Well, I just want to say thanks for taking the time, Max. It's super interesting. There's certain things like Vicky asked that were on my mind as well, just about the classical music, just about the organic transition, what's coming up, what's new. So I think you answered a lot of that. It's super interesting. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Hey, Max, it's always great chatting wine with you, man. I really enjoy that. I appreciate. I'm very grateful for your time, and I might swing by in the near future and let's do maybe a few tank sampling here and there.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm pretty often AKA every day in the area, so it would be great to get together and taste a few tank here and there.
Yeah, cool. And I just want to say one more thing that covers all our faces. It's Cyber Week, and today is Giving Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
So we let all our members know, like, all week we're doing a spin to win on Carl's Cellars, so that if you want to buy some Lunescence wines, you can spin to win. You could win $10 off. You could win $100 off, and you can also receive this with any purchase. It's a beautiful first annual hardcover edition of all the wineries in the Okanagan, a whole bunch of them. Beautiful, like coffee table book that you can open and flip through and see all the different wineries. And obviously Lunescence is in there. And so the Max and his team are giving us a copy of that with any purchase this week until Sunday, which is awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, is it for a minimum 12? Is it with every purchase or a minimum 6 bottles? There's a book included.
The book is with every purchase, but you do get free shipping with 12 or more bottles, which is really worth it because shipping is a lot these days. The shipping companies have really jacked up the prices, given all the crazy catastrophes that have been happening. So Lunescence is going to cover that cost if you order 12 or more bottles and send you this amazing book. So that's pretty exciting.
Beautiful coffee books from the Similkameen, the Okanagan. Max, thanks a million, my man. I greatly appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the island. We should be there for Christmas. We'll be out there for Christmas.
Oh,
so we might see you out there
soon. Yeah.
I hope so too. Yeah, I'm just watching watching the roads.
Take care, Max. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Safe travels.
Cool. There you go,
And
you guys.
hey, guess what? We have another special guest on the line.
Hey, that's the night. Please
And
bring them on.
I'm really excited to meet her because she is a member, just like all of us, and she lives in Edmonton. And she owns a company called Bottoms Up Wine Parties, which sounds like a lot of fun just right out of the gate. And she and Carl, and probably me popping in there when I can, as well as Rob Hammersley, are going to run an event on December 10th. That's free to join. So here, let's bring Carol on. Carol.
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
Carol.
Look at you.
How's it going?
Good. Good.
Great to have you on. Thank you so much for jumping in. Pretty cool.
Thanks for having me. No,
Hey.
I was listening into that Lunesssence, and that sounds awesome.
They're great. Like small. If you ever had the chance to be around in the area, there's that small little beautiful place in Summerland overseeing the lake. Their estate is absolutely spectacular. It's breathtaking. So they have a beautiful patio overseeing the valley and the lake. Is just like top-notch, world-class. Really, really enjoy. And their wines are amazing. So if you're a fan of Rieslings, some of these are aromatic. They make Chardonnays like nobody else as well. So yeah, no, pretty cool. And I always enjoy chatting wine with Max. So now it's you and me. What do you have in your bag? What do you have?
So I was going to have the Black Market Secret Society sparkling when I jumped on with you, and I realized I didn't have it cold yet. So it's in the freezer waiting. So
don't worry about that. It's all good. You know what? I want to know more about your. I'm sure I know. I did my research, but I'm sure some of our members, mostly in Alberta, we have a lot. And Ken McAllister here also is tuning in today. He's from Alberta as well. I'm sure there's a lot of them. They want to know what you do.
Awesome. Yeah. So I started in 2018. And I do private wine parties in Edmonton, online, and yeah, that kind of stuff. So I was I've always been passionate about wine, and I would do wine tastings with my friends in our, at home and whatever, always just trying to get people to try different wines and, hey, try this and try this and get out of your comfort zone and just having fun. And I figured we should do this for a living. So yeah, that's kind of how I started, and it's been a lot of fun, and COVID's made all of us do different things. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. And again, just the idea is to get people trying different wines, right? To have a good time, and be relaxed, right? And be fun, and kind of take out that whole intimidation that I think people feel a lot of times. So I try to take that away and just let's have a good time, try some wine. And by the end of the night, I hope you can, go to the liquor store and pick up a different bottle instead of picking the same Pinot Grigio or whatever it is that you're used to buying. Like, pick up something else and don't be afraid. So that's kind of what I like to do. And I have a lot of fun doing it. So.
You know what, Carol, I have a challenge for you. I spent 17 years in Calgary. And I all of these times in the wine business, I did consulting for collector. You know what's the hardest thing to do with Calgarian or people in Alberta is to have them buy Pinot Noir.
Oh, really?
They don't want anything to do anything about Pinot. They like their big and bold Cabernets and Syrahs and Merlots. I was always joking, like when I was talking with reps in Alberta, I said, "Oh, yeah, I have that beautiful Pinot here. Maybe your people." I was like, "I can't save my life to sell a freaking bottle of Pinot. Doesn't matter if it's 100 points." I remember getting stuck with Ken Wright, like from Oregon. Ken Wright makes some beautiful single vineyard wines, and I can't do anything with it. They don't want to buy it. Anyhow, just a little side note here.
I love it. Pinot Noir is a favorite for me. I personally love it, and yeah, I throw it in whenever I can, for sure.
What's your style of wine? What do you like on a Tuesday night when you're watching that French guy talking wine? What do you like to drink?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in this, and it depends on the season, right? So summertime, I'm always like sparkling, and dry Riesling is definitely a favorite. I do like, for red wines, more on the lighter side. Like I said, Pinot Noir is actually one of my favorites. I like a red wine that I don't have to have food with, like something so like tannic, but like smooth, and just something you can pick up and sip. And if I'm having something to eat or not, it's still going to go down really well. So that's kind of my, and everything and anything, depending on the situation. I love, you just pick different things, right?
There you go. And what is your favorite brand? Which one is your go-to?
Oh, I don't know if I that's a hard question. It depends, because, and I love what you guys do, because I love Canadian wine so much. Right? Like, I find that we're really an overlooked region when people think, "Oh, what kind of wine do you like?" And I'm like, well, I like a lot of Canadian stuff. I love Spear from South Africa is one of my favorites. And whenever I put those into wine tastings, people love that one. That was my favorite wine tasting I was ever at, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. We had a tasting with those guys, and it was so much fun. So
what great value. What an amazing value brand. They offer some great stuff. Funny enough, we had one of our members listening tonight, Daryl Hickey. We had kind of that exchange a couple of weeks ago about Spears. I think it was, maybe it was Mike. But yeah, we had some of the members who are fan of Spears as well. So good choice right there. Mira, do you have anything for Carol? Because I know I want to talk to her a little bit about what we're going to do on December 10th. So,
okay. Well, my comment, I guess, is just that when we heard that you're doing similar kinds of fun wine type stuff online, but you're dealing with people that drink a lot of international wines. I guess comment I want to make is we're all over that. We want to introduce people who like international wines to Canadian wines and help them see that Canadian wines are at a world-class level. So
absolutely,
that's kind of what's on my mind. But Carl, what is it that you guys are up to on December 10th?
Oh, you know what? When Carol shoot me an email and she wanted to do something with us, to me it was pretty clear, knowing that she's from Alberta, with knowing that how our member adopted a black market wine company so quickly, part of their almost weekly routine to get a bottle of black market on their table. It was a no-brainer to me to suggest to Carol to go work with Rob and his brand, because he's from Alberta. BC wine, big and bold, because he does some of the top Syrahs. And I just tasted the new, Carol, I have to tell you, I tasted the new Syndicate, this flagship wine, the new 2019 this weekend, and this wine is probably the best wine that I've tasted from the black market portfolio to date. I give it a 94 point. This wine goes to my top 10. It's in the running of my top 10 list wine of the year. So yeah, but yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. We selected the 3-pack with the Secret Society, the white, the red, and the sparkling. And we're going to talk about Secret Society. We're going to have Rob jumping in with us. He's going to tell us his story, his philosophy. So that's a little bit what we have cooking. But that's one thing. It's not Carl's show that night. It's going to be Carol's show, supported by the Carl cast. So you'll have to get me on leash that night because I'm not used. I'm not used to be on the side burner. So you have to keep me on check that night.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny just jumping in, and I haven't been on a Carl's Wine Club stream for a while, so it's just that's part of the reason why I contacted you, is because your enthusiasm is just really infectious, right? Like, he's got this giant smile and he's just so excited about wine. So I have no problem with, you know, sharing the stage, and we'll have fun. And how do you not have fun when you're just so excited about wine and stuff like that? So I'm excited, and I just wanted to kind of bring our worlds together, and you know, we're both, you know, Canadian wine people, so we might as well do what we can for each other and give our members kind of something different. So I'm super excited. And the Black Syndicate so far tastes great. Like, I had the white this weekend, so I'm already like trying to decipher what's in there, and I'm super excited to kind of figure that out and ask Rob all the good questions. And I hope our members, you know, your people and our people will just have a great event and bring them something real special. So
absolutely. Well, I'm really looking forward to it as well. And like, you know, that little like blind but not knowing the grapes in these blends, that's one of the concept of the whole secret society thing. Every year when we get with Rob and we taste the new blend, and it's always a back and forth, and it's just, no, I'm sure there's more of this, there's more of that. It's always fun. So yeah, and definitely this year with the 2018 red, the 18 red is more, a little bit more generous, more voluptuous, more on fruit. So it's going to be something that the Albertan and people from Edmonton will really like, knowing their taste profile. So
yeah.
There you go. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. If anyone's interested, we have there's 2 days left to order the wine to make sure it gets here before the 10th. So yeah, we've got that registration. And
I will send how do we do this? I'll find it right now and put it in the chat here. There you go.
We're gonna put the link in the chat. 2 more days. And even if it's not the 3-pack Secret Society, if you want to order a pack of Black Market, we're going to focus on the Secret Society, but we're going to chat about all of the portfolio. Yeah. If anyone just want to tune in with us just to have fun, so it's open. It's an open mic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a good time. What time do we start, Carol?
7:30 Mountain.
7:30 Mountain, 6:30 Pacific. So yeah, it should be a real good time. Yeah. So thank you, Carol. Enjoy your Tuesday night. Tomorrow, who we're featuring tomorrow? Spotlight tomorrow is on Mira.
She's busy with the first thing you asked her for.
Is it Spearhead?
Yes, it is. Yes, I think, we're talking Pinot Noir tomorrow with Spearhead out of
and they're bottling something crazy, or I don't know if they're bottling, but they're doing something with like big machinery tomorrow. So
no, they're bottling tomorrow. They're doing a new run of bottling tomorrow, so it's going to be pretty cool. So we're going to talk Spearhead.
We won't have the winemaker joining us, but maybe we'll have a little zoom into what they're up to in the winery.
Yes, exactly. So now we're on day 5 today. No, the Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, we're day 5 today, or day 6 of our craziness of Carl's Cellar. So thanks for tuning in, Carol. Thank you for joining us tonight. The link is right in there, and we'll see you in a couple of days, I guess. Well, in a week or so.
We'll see you in a week and a bit, and looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, Carol. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Fun to meet you. Yeah, great to meet you. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. There you go. Another one in the book. That was pretty interesting.
So, I was chatting with Marcel out in Niagara today, and he filmed us this crazy cool video of him running around all morning, picking up Cab Franc wines, because we're doing a Cab Franc marathon on Saturday. And he's like, Mira, I don't know if you realize, but you guys probably have the biggest collection of winemaker videos on Canadian wines that there is. And I'm like, that might be true because it's been like a year and a bit. And we probably do lives every twice a week on average or so, at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very many
We've been
hundreds of wine videos.
We've been building a pretty cool library, that's for sure.
So what we need to do next for you guys is like recap them, like a 1-minute recap. So if you can't come or, you just don't stay for the whole thing, you get the highlights or something like that. Kind of fun.
That darn angle on my camera have been bugging me since the beginning of the show today.
Apparently the saying is it's in the can. What did you say? It's in the books?
Yeah, it's in the book. No?
Maybe I think that might be a saying. It's in the books. It's on the books. I don't know. It's in the can.
Hey, okay.
I think that's an East Coast, West Coast thing, Mike.
And you know what? There's another thing that we maybe have enough material is to say that the Carlism. Carlism?
Carlism. Yes.
Carlism. Maybe we have enough material on tape that we can build a full book of Carlism.
For a video.
Yeah. I know that if there's been maybe at least 10,000 times that I made Mike laugh his ass off just listening to the thing that I can say.
Yeah. So, hey, are you do you have the 19 Merlot? Do you have a rating for it? You haven't rated that one yet.
I have not yet.
Daryl's asking about that.
Oh, the Lunesssence. No, wait a minute. I did the Merlot day. Oh, yeah. Okay, here is the story. I haven't tasted it yet. Maybe I should crack that in the next day or so, or maybe tonight and rate it, because for Merlot day, I had the 16, but the 16 was corked.
Yes.
So that's what happened. That's why I didn't open the 19, but I still have the 19, and maybe I should. Yes.
Okay, why don't we do that? And then you can put your notes. Yes. I don't know.
Yes.
Now? Should have done it earlier. Jeez.
Okay. I'm still behind. I still need to put the première cuvée from 13th Street from last night. Yes, I know.
Is it right there? Do you want to open it now? Vino it and just give us like okay, you only have 60 seconds. Tell us.
Jesus fucking Christ. I need to find the bottle.
Okay.
60 seconds. You must be kidding me.
Well, if you can find it in 30 seconds, then I think you should crack it open, Vino it, and just tell us your first impressions. But if you can't, then we'll send out a note about it.
Jesus Christ. Oh, maybe here. Yeah. There you go. 2019 Merlot.
You found it.
I did. Yes, Daryl. On the spot.
Usually you let it sit and open for 20 minutes or something so we can breathe, get all the sulfur out of it. But
yes, Daryl, on demand, Daryl, live, eh? Hey, Carl, give me the 19 tasting note. Sure, it's coming. There you go, here. So we're going to rinse it. Absolutely, sir. No problem. It's coming your way. Vino.
Do I need to go find the Vino? The last time I saw it was on that little table.
There you go. Vino here. Boom. Yes, Daryl, coming your way now.
Yes, Vicky, there will be 2 reviews. We always do that. Like we test out the wine, it's like a relationship. You got to try it right out the gate. Then you got to give it like 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. So
then
what
you
got to
give it like a few hours. Then we always try it the next day too. Sometimes it's like a stew, like a good stew. It's even better the next day. And sometimes it's not. It's dead the next day. We'll see.
No, there's definitely cassis in there. There's blackberry, ripe blackberry. This is there's some ripe fruit, maybe like dark cherry as well. Tobacco, I would say like the pipe, a little bit of graphite, and there's definitely some fresh herbs in the mid as well. Mm.
Mira's review is critical to the process. Yes, it's the untrained palate that just like tells you like it is. Just
okay. Ripe fruit, I'm surprised, but it's 2019 though. It's really something that I'm seeing more and more on all of the not all, but most of the 19 wines, red, big red. I see some ripe fruit. 19 was a warmer vintage, not crazy, but warm across the board, really long season. So I get some mature, I get some full ripeness on the Merlot here. Blackberry, I see some chewy tobacco. There's some fresh herbs who keeps it fresh in the middle. The tannin, though, do not rip my face off. The tannins are soft. Here you go. Hi. The tannin are soft, impressively for a young wine. Yeah, I know. I was expecting something more on the acidity. This is more on ripeness. The oak, it's not disjointed. The oak is well at its place. There's nothing out of place in there. The nose is really beautiful. It's very enjoyable. It's a medium body.
I really like the nose.
Yeah. There's like the tannin are really, the tannin are really soft. There's nothing aggressive in there. It's surprising because 19 just been released. I would have expected something to be put aside and wait for a while. This is approachable right out of the gate. I'm not sure about the price point here. We're probably talking about the $32, I would expect.
I'll tell you, it is a $32.99.
Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So right there, it's definitely, there's no point. There's nothing here to tells me that has to go under 90 points. There's nothing. It makes is 90. It's $32. It gives me for $32 100%. There's that classic Merlot. There's nothing baked, like overripe. There's a freshness, but there's ripe fruit. There's the dark cocoa as well. Maybe more, no, maybe not cocoa, maybe a little bit more like coffee grind in the mid palate after the herbaceous part. It's well made. It's good. I like that. I will definitely, I would like a nice juicy cheeseburger, maybe with blue cheese and bacon, or a baby back rib. Baby back rib with that would be great.
Vicky's saying it might be the longest in oak out of their Merlots, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Daryl's saying you're probably going to give it a 90. And all I said, Carl, is I know you well enough now. It's probably not going to be under 90 at this point, based on what you've said.
Yeah, no.
Go up because we just cracked this and poured it with an Enovino. Like, who knows? Maybe in an hour, it'll be a totally different wine, right?
But from the baseline that it
better. Like, it's not going to get worse. It's going to get better, right?
No lack of acid. No, not at all. There's that freshness. There's not It's not on cranberry acidic, but it's on ripe fruit, but not on cooked fruit or on stewed fruit neither. No acidity, and what I always I don't think I've ever got a wine from Lunescence with a lack of acidity. It's a low alcohol. It's a 13.2, low alcohol. I would say like that Bordeaux-esque type of alcohol level, around between the 13 and 13.8. No, nice freshness. To me, it's brought by the herbaceous part of the mid palate. A little bit of torrefaction with the coffee grind and the tobacco. Decent length. It's not the wine who's gonna last as like a minute or a 30 second, but there's a nice finish. Yeah, not spicy though, but it's Merlot, so I don't necessarily expect a bunch of spice. It's no Cap Franc, it's no Syrah, it's no Malbec. So yeah, it's 100% Merlot. Then it delivers a Merlot aspect to it, and I'm definitely happy with that. I'm not disappointed to open that and knowing that I fork $32 out of my pocket. That did not disappoint me at all. No lack of acidity, absolutely not, Daryl. This is and I would have been shocked to find a wine lacking acidity from Lunescence, in a sense that they're like Summerland. Their old philosophies about bright wine, terroir. So no lack of acidity. It's to me was not in even something that I thought of. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, and Vicky's saying the lesser alcohol of their Merlots, and there is 4% Cab Sauv in there, and I think it's 14 months in different kinds of barrels. So yeah, quite a decent.
Yeah, see, like that's not like I didn't look at any of the text sheet prior to that. Caps 4% Cab Sauv. I'm not surprised when I mentioned I saw a little bit of graphite. Yeah, definitely Cab Sauv will make sense. There's a dark, like a little bit like purplish tint there. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. It was a little more than 60 seconds, but it was still under a few minutes. So I think that's great.
The nose is absolutely fantastic, though.
I love that.
Yeah, the nose is really, really appealing.
And I just looked at the winery notes, and they say something about hibiscus. And I'm wondering, because the hibiscus is not something I normally ever smell or taste. So I'm wondering if that's what I sometimes get on the nose here. I wasn't sure what it is. Yeah, I'm going to need to get some hibiscus. Speaking of interesting flavors in wines, what are the typical things you find in Cab Franc? Is it peppers?
Yeah, pepper, like pyrazine, so the green pepper for the unripe, and also dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is something that I often get
with Cab Franc.
Into my Cab Franc. There's some ripe raspberry. When we're talking about a colder version of Cab Franc, ripe raspberry, I would sometimes get some plum for the riper, higher alcohol, or black plum or blue plum.
So very similar to Merlot, just because I am going to get some of those things so that I can smell them, taste them, and then compare them to the wine, see if I can pick them up on the palate. Thanks for going the extra mile there, Carl Boucher.
Absolutely, and, you guys. That's why you guys are following me. You know that I'm never saying no for a tasting notes.
That's awesome. I love it. Next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to organize Carl's cellar, and that will be interesting and fun because I was looking through today. There's some good things in there I didn't know we had.
Whoa.
And then Daryl was saying Merlot or Pinot. If you had to choose.
Daryl, give me 1 minute here. I'm not done. I'm in the conversation. I'm in a little conversation right now. I'm going to get back to your answer. Excuse me?
I'm going to organize the cellar. And then I'll be able to look up on my app what we have in there and say, oh, there's this old like Chardonnay. Maybe we should drink that.
There's nothing old in there, okay? Daryl, Merlot or their Pinot? That's a very good question. I think that their Pinot is it's my highest it's my highest rated red in their portfolio. I think the Pinot, it's really, really what they do best. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Daryl. Yes, absolutely. It's like going to stomp on someone else's logo in the middle of the field. You don't do that. Don't touch my wine cellar. Jesus Christ.
Then you know what's gonna happen? Then I'll have my own cellar. And then I'll say, yeah, you know, we can have this, but it's in my cellar, and I think I'll age it another year.
Oh, look who's talking about aging. Oh, yeah, right. Of course.
But yes, Mike, cellar tracker. It's super easy to use. I love it. So
that can be a fun project that we can do during the Christmas break.
I did half your cellar today in about 15 minutes.
Excuse me?
Put it on. I put it on cellar tracker because I was looking for the Cab Francs, and I said if I'm pulling bottles out, I might as well scan each one as I do it, you know. So I did that.
Anyway, what a waste of time here. Okay. So yes, Daryl, to your question, I think Pinots are something very solid at what they do at Lunescence. Tasting that 19 Merlot, I'm seeing more and more potential on the 19s vintage from here, from the Okanagan. I had that conversation with Clay Martin from the Taste Buds, and that's what we're mentioning, both of us. Like everything is tasting from the 19 big reds, just shining like crazy right now. And the other end, the Pinot from Lunescence, really, really, really solid. Sorry, nice touch of earthiness. It's mostly estate fruit, but I think there's also a little bit of fruits from the Normal bench on their black label Pinot. Wait a minute here, 19 Pinots. Yeah, not sure. Anyway. So if you ask me which one, it's hard to say. Right now, I'm really liking what I have in my glass here. What's the price of the Pinot, Mira? 19 Pinot.
So the 19 Pinot Noir is $27.99. You gave it 91 points.
Yeah. Okay, now they're, a little better value on the Pinot for sure. But at $32 for the Merlot, it's not outrageous. And now what I'm seeing right out of the gate, drinking pretty darn good. So I can't wait to taste it a little bit more later. If I can survive for late dinner, but we'll see where I'm at. You'll see a tasting note coming your way at some point early tomorrow. So yeah.
Well, thanks so much, you guys. Oh, this is the first Pinot sent out to the club as well. Yes, so thanks so much, you guys. That was fun. We're gearing up for another Cab Franc or varietal marathon on Saturday. So if you're into Cab Franc or you're curious about it, stop by.
Hey, did you want to put the video? Did you want to put the video?
No, we'll just post it. It's all good.
We'll post it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
so yeah, no, check that out. I have already, I think it's 12 in the mail. So there's 12 bottles from Niagara plus another maybe 8. So I probably have like close to 20 Niagara Cab Franc and another 10 from here. So I have to do some selection. I can't do 30. It's just like lunatic. No. What?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We could barely get through 23 or 25 last time. Yeah, maybe we have to spread the love around. Maybe we have to send a bottle here and there to a member. Let's chat.
Anyway, Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club member, you guys all across the country, thank you so much for tuning in again. Tomorrow, we're going to preview a video that we've done earlier this week at Spearhead, who just won 4 platinum award for their Pinot Noir. So tomorrow, we're talking Pinots. That's what we're talking about. Spotlight on Spearhead. But tonight, Spotlight was on Lunescence out of Summerland, BC. The link, it's carlseller.com/Lunescence. Go take a look.
Lunescence Estate. Lunescence Estate.
Take a look. Free shipping for 12 bottles. Free book. Coffee book here. The Clarity Wine of the Okanagan in the Similkameen Valley. Beautiful little book about like different wineries, beautiful pictures, tasting notes and all that. So yeah. Thank you,
Love
guys.
it. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
We'll see you next time. It means tomorrow. Bye.